they now call it they now call it the first resurrection. They didn't call it the first resurrection until after Christ. So it would have, if you'd have just seen resurrection, you'd be like, I think that if it says resurrection, we should be assuming it's talking about the last one. But now when it says the first resurrection, that means actually the first in the order, but it doesn't mean the first or the original.
Right, because it says it's confusing because it says it's after the 1,000 years is over.
Or
in 20, let me just look.
No, I don't think it does, but that's okay.
Revelation 20.
Do I have it? Yeah.
But the rest of the dead lived not until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection.
So this is the first resurrection. It's actually referring to the verse before in 20 verse 4. 20. And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. But the rest of the dead lived not again until 1,000 years were finished. I believe that the first resurrection is talking about the verse 4, not the verse 5. So it says, and I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus, for the word of God, which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark before their throne or their head on their hands. And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. So the verse 4 is really talking about the 7 years before, where they were beheaded and they were whatever else like that. And he says, and those people who were beheaded for Christ didn't take the mark of the beast. They lived with Christ and reigned for 1,000 years, but the rest of the dead lived not until the 1,000 years were finished. And then he says, this is the first resurrection. I believe that he was referring to the first one as the before the 1,000 years. And then he says, blessed is holy thee that hath part in the first resurrection. Here, on such the second death hath no power. But they shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. The people who have, if you take out the middle section, blessed is he that hath the part in the first resurrection. Then skip over the next part there on such a, and then just read the last second, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. So blessed is and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. He shall reign with him 1,000 years, is how I read that. The middle information in that section is the specifics of it, but I think it's pointing to us in verse 6 clearly that the first resurrection is the one that happens at the beginning, and in verse 5 it's really talking about both of them, but when he says this is the first resurrection, he's referring to verse 4.
Right, that makes sense now.
Yeah, but very confused. Yeah, if I put 5 up here, I just didn't have enough room to put 4, 5, and 6, but I do think I have 4, 5, and 6 on another slide in part 2. But anyway, yeah. So first resurrection, we'll do this as well. Give a good. Here's the cross. Here is resurrection of Christ. Then we have the 1,000 years. First. And it doesn't ever call it the second resurrection. I'm going to call it the last. It doesn't call it that either.
The just and the unjust. Right?
Yes, we're gonna resurrection. We're gonna rename it and scribble these off. And here is the 1,000-year kingdom.
Are you going to talk about the Great White Throne Judgment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and this, I don't talk about it, but this is the judgment seat of Christ.
Right.
This is the white throne judgment. Different.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't talk about the judgment seat of Christ, but I do talk about the white throne judgment.
And who's going to be there?
You're right.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't know if I'll fully satisfy it, so I'll ask questions during the video. But anyway, here's the first resurrection. Here's where they will be born again. in a likeness. So just like Christ was died, he of course only was in the grave for 3 days. They could be in it for 3,000 years. But
Glorified body.
but no.
The born again.
Yeah, born again in a glorified body, just like he came back in a glorified body. Now, curious that you bring that up. So what did he say to was it Mary or Martha? Somebody saw him, somebody caught him at the tomb, and he says, whoa, don't touch me yet. I haven't ascended to my Father yet. I don't have that body yet. Okay, so he came back in a glorified body here. They are going to come back in a glorified body here. Glorified bodies have nothing to do with heaven. Nothing.
And only Jews are born
Only
again. And
Yes.
and the unjust.
The unjust.
Resurrection is only Jews.
Well, now
No,
it could be Gentiles as well, but the problem is this, and Leslie and I had this conversation, and here it says that the unjust, we'll get to it, and I'm not going to go into a lot of details, so it's good we do here. And here, when the white throne judgment, and when the book is opened, and then the books are opened, okay, so the book of life is the book, and then the books are open, and the people are judged out of the books. The Gentiles aren't going to be judged out of the books. The books never had anything to do with them. So the white throne judgment, where the book is open and the books are open and they're being judged based on their works, has nothing to do with Gentiles. The laws didn't apply to them. They were without the law. They were without God, right? So for us to say that Gentiles will be at the white throne judgment, I don't know that there's anything that supports that. Now, could they end here? Yeah, I believe they're going to end here. I don't believe there's going to be any more of them or of Jews or of us here. Here, everything ends that was ever created back here, right? So everybody's going to end here, and the only souls that move on are the whoever was written in in the book of life, the Jews, whoever did things and their works will cause them to be judged as acceptable, and then us, and we're faith only. So they're your two salvation plans, one of the physical and one of the spiritual, and we'll all be gone. We'll all be caught up.
The born again, is that full acknowledgement that Jesus is the Christ?
It's the. You mean if they're born again? You mean?
Yes.
So when someone says that they're born again, boy, I'm going to step on toes with this one. But if someone says they're born again, they have no idea what they're talking about. Zero. Now, and it's okay, but they just aren't reading their Bibles. What if you say you're a born again Christian? You are saying in scriptural terms that I am brought back from the dead at the beginning of the 1,000-year kingdom. Oh, really? So you're saying we're in the 1,000-year kingdom? Well, no, but I'm saying that I believe in Jesus. Well, then say you believe in Jesus, but don't say you're a born again Christian, because a born again happens here. Period. So born again is not really an acknowledgement of Jesus. It's a result of how he died and were born again, that they are going to die and be born again in a likeness of the same death and in a likeness of the coming back. That likeness is not a symbolic thing, and every church teaches it symbolically. It's not. It's actual. How he died, they died somewhere in this path. How he was raised from the dead, they're going to be raised from the dead.